There is a version of you waiting in the future, and I need you to imagine that person for a moment. Stronger than you feel today, calmer than the storm you are standing in right now, wiser than the questions currently haunting you, freer than the fears trying to limit you. And that version of you is looking back at this exact chapter of your life, begging you not to quit. Think about that. The person you are becoming is cheering for the person you are now. What if that alone changes how you see this struggle? Because maybe you have looked at hardship as evidence something is going wrong, when perhaps hardship has been the very place something sacred is being formed. What if this season is not destroying your future, but constructing it? What if the weight you feel is building the shoulders needed to carry what is coming? Because greatness is rarely formed where everything is easy. It is formed where people keep showing up while life is hard. And you have been showing up, even when tired, even when uncertain, even when carrying pain nobody sees. That matters. Do not call that ordinary. That is resilience. And resilience is holy. Because sometimes resilience looks dramatic and heroic, but often it looks quiet. It looks like getting up one more morning when the soul feels heavy. It looks like praying one more prayer when answers feel delayed. It looks like choosing not to quit even while discouraged. And maybe that has been your miracle all along. You kept going. You kept breathing. You kept carrying hope, even in fragments. That means something alive in you has refused to die. Honor that. Because maybe heaven calls strength what you have been calling exhaustion. Maybe heaven calls endurance what you have been calling barely surviving. Maybe heaven sees a warrior where you only see wounds. And maybe today you need heaven's perspective more than your own. Because maybe you have underestimated what has been forged in you. Pressure did not only weigh on you. It shaped you. Pain did not only wound you. It deepened you. Delay did not only frustrate you. It matured you. What if that is true? Then this season is not empty. It is forming someone. Perhaps someone capable of carrying purpose you have not yet imagined. And maybe the future version of you knows that. Maybe that is why they are whispering across time, don't quit here. Because this is not where your story collapses. This is where your identity sharpens. This is where hidden strength becomes visible. This is where you discover you were built for more than survival. And maybe one day you will look back at this season and realize it was not the chapter that almost broke you. It was the chapter that introduced you to your strength. Listen, pain has lied to you. It told you delay means denial. It told you struggle means you missed your calling. It told you exhaustion means weakness. It told you because this season has been hard, something must be wrong with you. But pain is a poor narrator. It interprets through wounds. It exaggerates endings. It makes temporary seasons sound permanent. Don't believe it. Because what if this season has not been diminishing you at all? What if it has been enlarging you? What if every disappointment made room for discernment? Every closed door sharpened direction. Every hard night deepened faith. Every unanswered question stretched trust. Because maybe life has not taken nearly as much from you as it has built within you. Maybe what you call losses have also been lessons. Maybe what you call resistance has been training. Maybe what you call silence has been hidden construction. Invisible architecture for visible destiny. Powerful thought. Because perhaps your future requires more from you than your past ever did. More depth, more courage, more spiritual weight, more capacity. And maybe capacity is what is being formed right now. Quietly, deeply, permanently. Because what grows deep lasts long. And maybe roots have been going down where nobody can see. Do not despise root work. Fruit depends on it. Maybe this season is root work. And if so, nothing about it is wasted. Not one hard prayer. Not one lonely night. Not one moment you wondered whether you could keep going. All of it carrying weight. All of it building someone. Perhaps you. And maybe the reason the process is felt intense is because what is being formed in you is rare. Rare peace. Rare steadiness. Rare wisdom. Things cheap seasons do not produce. And maybe one day you will thank this season for giving you depth your old self lacked. Because maybe what feels like hardship now will later read as preparation. Maybe what feels like delay will later look like protection. Maybe what feels like pruning will later be recognized as mercy. And if that is true, then maybe you are not behind it all. Maybe you are in formation. And formation is sacred. Stop seeing this chapter as interruption. What if it is initiation? What if life is initiating you into another level of strength? Because perhaps this season has been teaching you things success alone never could. Teaching you how to stand when emotions shake. How to trust when outcomes stay hidden. How to keep your heart soft while pressure rises. That is rare strength. And maybe rare strength is being born in you. Do not rush past that. Because too many people pray for greatness while resisting the formation greatness requires. Yet formation is where greatness lives. And maybe this season has been full of formation. Think about what you have learned. Things pain forced you to discover. Patience, discernment, endurance, compassion, dependence on God. None of that came cheaply. It was forged, and forged things last. Maybe you have looked at scars and called them evidence of damage. But what if they are evidence of capacity? Proof you can survive what once terrified you. Proof your soul can stretch. Proof your spirit carries more than fear predicted. That matters. Because perhaps one day what almost made you quit becomes the story of what made you powerful. Imagine that. The very chapter you wanted to escape becoming the chapter you honor. Because it introduced you to yourself. To the deeper self beneath performance. Beneath approval. Beneath survival. And maybe the future version of you will thank you for staying through what felt impossible long enough to discover that self. Because identity often gets revealed under pressure. And maybe yours has too. Maybe this season has been less about what life is doing to you and more about who life is drawing out of you. That changes everything. Because then struggle is not merely obstacle. It is invitation. Invitation into depth, into power, into becoming. And perhaps that is what stands before you right now. Becoming. What if fear has been exaggerating how far you are from breakthrough? What if the voice telling you nothing is changing is the least reliable voice in your life? Because fear interprets transition as collapse. It interprets stretching as danger. It interprets resistance as defeat. But fear often misreads thresholds. And maybe what you have been calling resistance is actually evidence something is near. Think about that. Right before dawn, darkness often feels deepest. Right before birth, pressure intensifies. Right before doors open, opposition often grows louder. And many people quit in resistance because they misread it as failure. Don't. What if resistance is not a sign to retreat, but proof something worth fighting through is close? What if peace is nearer than despair has let you believe? What if clarity is forming beneath confusion? What if the life you keep imagining is not far off in some unreachable future, but pressing toward you even now? Because maybe breakthrough is closer than your wounds allow you to feel. And maybe one reason this season feels tense is because thresholds often do. Thresholds stretch. They unsettle. They ask old identities to loosen their grip. But they are not endings. They are doorways. And maybe you are standing at one. Maybe you have mistaken doorway tension for disaster. But what if this is the edge of expansion? Because sometimes the soul feels discomfort not because something is wrong, but because something bigger is trying to emerge. And maybe what is emerging in you is courage large enough to carry the life ahead. Because perhaps the next chapter is not reached by people who never feel resistance. It is entered by people who refuse to bow to resistance. People who stay. People who trust. People who push through one more dark stretch until light breaks. And maybe that is you. Maybe you are far closer than fear has told you. Closer to peace. Closer to healing. Closer to breakthrough. Closer to the life you once thought belonged to other people. Maybe it belongs to you too. And maybe all you have to do right now is refuse to quit before the door opens. Because perhaps the miracle is not far. Perhaps it is near enough to hear your courage rising. I need you to understand something. Your future may not depend on giant dramatic heroic moves. It may depend on one brave decision. One yes. One refusal to stay small. One act of faith while still trembling. Because courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is movement despite it. And maybe movement is what your destiny has been waiting on. How many lives have changed through one courageous yes? One step nobody applauded at the time. One act of obedience that looked small but bent generations. History often turns that way. Quietly. Through decisions most people overlook. And maybe your life could turn that way too. Through one yes. Maybe one yes to trust again. One yes to begin again. One yes to stop negotiating with limitation. Because perhaps small agreements with fear have stolen enough. Today, break agreement. Say inside yourself, I will move. I will believe. I will rise. I will not let hesitation bury what was meant to live. Speak like that. Souls change when they speak like that. Because words create inner architecture. And maybe yours has needed rebuilding. Let courage rebuild it. Because perhaps what stands before you is not danger. It is destiny disguised as risk. And maybe fear mislabeled holy invitations as threats. If so, rename them. That step may be calling. That stretch may be expansion. That discomfort may be growth. Because maybe the future